35. If you missed anything on this wonderful radio station, just download the Odyssey app. Hit the rewind button when you go to your favorite show. The segments are all right there for you. It says what they are, and you see something you like, listen to it. It's a great thing. And, of course, the podcast that we have on our own, I do Restore the Floor with Evan Jenkins on the Pistons and the NBA, John and TJ Lang, Necessary Roughness, the gambling extraordinary podcast, Cash the Ticket, with Mike Valenti and Jim Costa, Rico Beard's 5-Star Zone, and, of course, Pat Caputo and Bustin' Balls. And our buddy Kang has a podcast, too, about collectibles.
Yep.
So check it all out. Very easy to listen to and very informative and entertaining, too. All right. We asked the question, what is the biggest reason for the Lions' success this season? And I said culture. And it starts at the top and goes all the way down. But the culture is set by Sheila Fordham and, Brad Holmes, Chris Spielman, Dorsey, Dan Campbell, the players, everybody in the front office, the nutritionist, training staff, whatever. There's just a mindset there of all for, one for all for one, whatever it is. They all have a singular goal. And that used to never be there. There used to be all these fiefdoms that this person cared about this thing, and nobody would get along. They got along as people a lot of times, but they weren't on the same page.
Yep.
You have to have, in today's national football, you have to be on the same page.
Yeah, singular focus.
Right. John's, yours was?
Jared Goff.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that we talked about all offseason, Goff-proofing this offense. And whether it was bringing in David Montgomery, it's Amon-Ra St. Brown, you add Laporta, you add Gibbs, you have an offensive line that is dynamic, J-Mo is back, you have all of these weapons around him. And that was simply because you felt like Jared Goff was good, but he needed a full complement of players and offensive line around him. What he has proven so far this year is that your offensive line can be beat up. You could be down a running back. You could be down 2 running backs. You could be down Amon-Ra St. Brown. And he still goes out there and is able to put an offense out there that does enough to win games and other times goes out there and wins games. And I think this proves that he is a really good quarterback. I don't know if I want to say great, but he is I think a top 5 quarterback. At least this year, he's playing as a top 5 quarterback. And he is, to me, the number one reason. You have to have a playmaker at that position, a guy that can lead and a guy that can go out there and overcome different obstacles and doesn't need everything to be perfect to win.
248-539-9797. Let's go to Berkeley. Alex, what's going on? How are you?
Hey, guys. Great. Really enjoy the show. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you.
My answer for this, Sheila Fordham, and I hope that's not too cheeky, but you remember she hired Dan Campbell before the general manager, which is a little bit unorthodox of a decision, but when people were calling for Campbell's head last year, she stayed the course. She didn't turn the thing around. She didn't cave to pressure, and look what's happened because of that. So she's kind of been the orchestrator about this whole thing. Obviously, I think the answer between the players and the front office is great, but she could have blown this thing up last year. We would have been at square one, and I'm really glad that she didn't.
Yeah. I mean, you have to be patient in professional sports, I believe.
Yeah.
Too many of us, guilty as charged sometimes, very knee-jerk in our opinions. They fire this guy after a year. I can tell, sometimes you have to let things, percolate.
Breathe a little bit.
Percolate, exactly, yes. Let's go to Eddie in St. Clair Shores. Good morning, Eddie.
Good morning. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Thank you.
So I wanted to comment on the London Super Bowl as well as the, one word to describe the success of the Lions. But the Super Bowl being in London, one thing you guys didn't touch on, you were saying it's not going to affect, the American fans, here at home, but the time difference is going to be a big kick in the nuts. If they're playing at 5:30, 6 o'clock at night, then, it's going to be
midnight.
The morning, Sunday morning and on the West Coast. So they're going to, start partying at 5 o'clock in the morning for the Super Bowl? Like, the pregame would be starting then? I just don't see it making any sense.
I think what they would do is, because television ratings in this country are most important, so the Super Bowl would start, let's say, midnight London time.
Yeah, so how the players going to like that?
Well, that's part. You're right. That's a problem, and that's why
I don't
another
think,
reason it won't happen.
Well, I don't think they go midnight London time. The example I saw was if they go 8:30 London time, would be 12:30 on the West Coast, 3:30, I believe, here. That seems to be more palatable on both ends.
It's palatable, as far as the time, I agree, but not ratings-wise. Sunday night, that's the Super Bowl's and part of the now, I'm not saying it wouldn't be the best watch show of the year, but the ratings, it's such a perfect time for that game is when they do.
See, I think they would go with like 10 o'clock London, and then it'd be
Yeah,
5 o'clock here.
On the Lions, the thing I'm loving right now is depth. We have depth. We have guys, second, third stringers that might be starting on other teams, and they are always ready to step up when injuries happen, which has been a curse on the Lions. When we had Calvin Johnson, if he got injured, we were like, oh, we're going to lose. Things like that. And it's just the depth that we have that I think is going to make us successful this season, because guys go down, the next guys step up, and Dan Campbell, Brett Holmes, and the culture goes along with that. They have that next up mentality. So I think that's what's going to bring the success throughout the season is the depth we have.
Well, they did have some depth at wide receiver. They had either Golden Tate or Nate Burleson during the Calvin years, but there were times when they had to go with Chris Durham.
Yeah, but I think the point is that you've got guys like a Josh Reynolds who has stepped up.
Mm-hmm.
Khalif Raymond at times, he's made big plays. Amon-Ra St. Brown, we know we're being reintroduced or at least introduced to J-Mo, and it's, you're able to make some plays at that position. And when we saw Amon-Ra St. Brown down, and you still go out there and win a game.
Exactly.
I do. The Lions' depth is phenomenal. I'm not trying to discount it at all. I will say this. Okay, I don't know if these guys would be doing this other places. Honestly, they've made the depth. The coaches deserve credit for getting the most out of these guys.
Yes.
John Kaminsky, Jerry Jacobs was undrafted.
Yeah.
Bugs. They just fit here. This is why when I kept saying in the offseason, there's an element of this team coming together as a complete roster that is very similar to what the 85 Bears did. They did. Like I thought we were. They got. You go back and look at that Bears roster. There are guys celebrated on that team. They weren't that great. I mean, heck, was it Steve McMichael is still maybe getting in the Hall of Fame? I don't think he should.
The Fridge was not a great player.
No, but it was them.
They had they didn't have very good receivers either.
It just worked for them. I'm not saying it's a direct comparison, but it is a reminder of. They got the most out of everybody. They all came together and played. It was all about one thing, and they probably should have won more.
And the head coach was a tight end.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Lions.
I want a song here. Super Bowl Shuffle.
You like that stuff? I didn't think you'd like that at all. We got to win. We don't need the players singing. We need to focus on the game.
Oh, I still have the vinyl of the Super Bowl Shuffle. Oh yeah.
Can you sing it?
I can. I'm not going to.
Why not? Come on. Please.
No, because this is Detroit radio, not Chicago radio.
Yeah, but it's you. You're Detroit radio.
Yeah, no,
who cares what you sing?
No, I'm not going to sing it. No, but I loved just the energy that team had at that time, and the fact that we've got Spider-Man Allen, but we need something.
I mean,
current.
if I can sing about the Sixers and you can sing about the Bears.
That's you.
And that team did I know they won the one Super Bowl. I know they played at least in 2 other championship games, but they were also in the Joe Montana era, and it's why they didn't win more. They're also in the Bill Parcells, Lawrence Taylor. There was a lot of good football going. The Redskins with Gibbs,
and they weren't always on the same page either, because Buddy Ryan and Mike Dickett.
Just wait till Aaron Glenn goes crazy.
Yes. All right. Let's get to some ticket texts. Bluto in Canton says the Lions' success can only be attributed to Brad freaking Holmes. It all started with him. Well, yeah, but Campbell was hired before him. Biggest reason for success is discipline. Individuals following through with their responsibilities and reasonable coaching decisions. Biggest reason for the Lions' success is continuity. They've set a standard and have held every member of the team to that standard. David in New Baltimore. People are making great points. Derek in Brighton says defense. Last season, we said if they even had an average defense, they'd make the playoffs. Now it's top 5. The offense is still humming, and the defense is matching, which is why we're seeing success. Charles in West Bloomfield says, Manning lifting the curse, along with Jeff Daniels. The Lions have finally drafted players with skill and will. The players love the game of football, just like Spielman. From Jeff at Ann Arbor, I think the answer is pretty simple. The team ownership was finally passed down a generation. I remember when that transition happened, and I said, because she's younger and as a child, she got to suffer through all this like a lot of Lion fans have for over decades. I thought it would be a little different. Culture is without a doubt the reason for their success. Their habits and mindset are that of a winning team. Next man up, never out of the game mindset if they fall behind and never overlooking anyone. That's the most important one. They will prepare for each game with the same attitude and show up ready for war. It doesn't matter if they're playing the Chiefs at Arrowhead or playing the Panthers at home. They give the same attitude and effort every game. We'll take more of your phone calls coming up next. Don't forget Dan Campbell at 9:35. Stoney and Jansen, 97 The Ticket.
During the month of October, check out the exciting sales events happening at Fox Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram of Southfield. Shop Jeep Adventure Days to find great deals on new vehicles. You can lease a 2023 Jeep Compass starting at only $299 a month, or shop other special offers happening all month long. The best part is Fox CDJR of Southfield's easy 3-step process for purchasing a vehicle. First, work with the expert product specialist to pick out the perfect vehicle for your family. Next, the team will help you find the best price or payment for your budget. And finally, after you say yes to your new ride, you can take delivery in less than an hour with their expert delivery team. Stop by the dealership today at 11.5 at Telegraph for the best guest experience you've ever had, or you can visit them online at foxchrysler.jeepramosouthfield.com. That's foxchrysler.jeepramosouthfield.com. See dealer for complete details based on bank approval, proper and required documentation, including employee number, registration, and funds.
Of course, Jeff Rieger's now freaked out because the fact that Verlander celebrated it means according to Rieger, he's going into the Hall of Fame as an Astro, not a Tiger.
He is so, everybody has their weird things. He's so paranoid about that. It's not going to impact me one way or another what the cap is when he goes in. It doesn't, they don't like Men in Black mind erase your memories from when you watch JV as a Tiger. Those things still happened. Right. You don't have to think differently about him.
Right. He's 13 years here. I think it'll be 8 or 9 with them. And if he chooses them because they had more postseason success, whatever. So be it. I feel he'll do the Mike Mussina route, which is just a blank hat.
My point is, it doesn't cheapen what he did here. And people like Rieger like get very defensive over it.
He's ours. He's ours. He's not yours. He's ours.
Yeah, that's a good Jeff Rieger impression. It's actually really well done.
248-539-9797 is the telephone number. Dan Campbell at 9:35. Let's talk to Ed in Ann Arbor. What's up, Ed?
Hey, guys. I'm going to be brief, but ponder this for a second. It is Dan Holmes or Brad Campbell. You can't separate them.
I don't think you're far off.
The management team has gone out and built a team in the image of Dan Campbell. They don't care where they meet you, in the alley, the parking lot. And if you look at them, the core of the team that's operating now, all their guys that in free agency are hurt, all their draftees are laid up. This is the core of guys that went 8-2 out of 10 last year. You want a name for them? They're the expendables, the original ones, okay? They're the guys that keep stepping up because they're Dan Campbell's guys. I'm going to hang up and listen to you guys, but ponder on that.
Thanks, Ed.
You know what? The relationship that has grown between Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell.
It's great.
It really is. And the fact that, Dan was hired, unorthodox situation before Brad Holmes, and that they've been able to work this out the way that they have is remarkable. But they have built this relationship where you feel like Brad Holmes is a really good evaluator of talent, but does a really good job of understanding what Dan Campbell needs on this roster.
Which is unique in professional sports certain times, especially
Right.
like in the beginning, because usually the general manager hires the coach so they get along and then eventually something happens. I mean, even the greatest teams, it happens to.
Yeah, or it's the fact that Dan Campbell takes the guys and has we talk all the time about Ben Johnson and his ability to call the offense and how creative it is. But it's Aaron Glenn as well. But it's all the other assistant coaches that Dan hired that are developing this talent.
Some ticket text. Alan in a Jeep. The Lions' success is because of the word team. This feels like the Pistons' bad boys version of football. We have no real superstars, but the whole team shows up when we need it with an all-in attitude. Now, I'll argue, say Isaiah was a superstar, but he was, whatever. But still, and there's a situation where Daly and McCluskey, they got along, and then towards the end, things got fractured, and hopefully nothing will happen here between Holmes and Campbell. I don't see it happening. Robert says the ability of Dan Campbell to put together and improve upon his staff. Fired Anthony Lynn, the offense got better. Fired Pleasant, the defense got better. Brought in solid replacements for Deuce and Aubrey. The staff works together and leaves their ego at the door. That's from Robert.
And the D-line coach.
My big things. This team, nobody has ego on this team right now.
They're selfless, which is why. Yes.
And that's eventually going to come at some point. It just happens with success. I mean, or you're going to draft a player that's that way. I mean, look, I think my word is continuity. You can say that's culture, whatever. From the top down, it's just cohesive. It's together. It's glued together. I think there's. The entire team's symbolic of Chris Spielman.
Well, there's the last ticket.
It's my gosh, if you were to write a team that Chris Spielman would want to build, I believe it would be this team with kind of an underdog QB, guys that tooth and nail fight as hard as they can. And if they leave, probably won't do as well, especially those, in between guys like Buggs and Benito Jones. I think they're playing their best football here because it works here.
Well, the other thing, though, is it doesn't appear to me that, like, J-Mo and even Gibbs to a certain extent are like the Spielman type of players, but he can acquiesce or, be in a conversation with other people who want them and, let them do their jobs.
I think, though, when he said the first time he came on the show, outside in, those are his outside in guys.
Yeah.
That he understands that in this league, you've got to have playmakers on the outside making plays. We haven't even seen that element really that much. I mean, J-Mo's was huge. So I think that catch was humongous. I don't know if they win that game if he doesn't make it. The other thing, this year, have you guys noticed that a lot of the newcomers are the guys that have been hurt the most? Like the kind of the team that was here last year and the guys that's when this team has really, really started to play good. Now, David Montgomery's been huge, and he's an upgrade from from Williams, but last week.
But it's weird because he's usually been durable his whole career too. That's
Yeah.
what this is.
But since Bugs has been playing, the defense has been playing better.
Yeah.
Is there something there?
I think there's a lot to be said for developing your own guys and sticking with them, because they do know when you know what your expectations are, it's easier to achieve them. And though there's a certain set of standards, when you look at college coaches that have been in one place for a long time and they've set a culture, they've set a standard, those players coming in and out, and when they keep their coordinators or position coaches consistent, it's really hard to do. But when they do, players know what the standard is. They know what they're striving for, and coaches know the players know the coaches. It's the same thing in the NFL. If you know what that standard is and you've been brought up with that standard, it's much easier to know what you're supposed to do.
And real quick, people talk about it all the time, but you can address it. How much difference does it make that these coaches, most of them, played in the league?
I think it matters. There's other coaches that have been obviously very successful as position coaches, coordinators, head coaches that never played, or at least never played in the NFL. But I think there is something to be said for guys that are coached by former players, and whether it's, situations in the game or it's playing through. I mean, we heard this from Deuce last year when he was talking about, DeAndre Swift. There's a difference between being hurt and injured. Like we've heard that line many times before. But when a guy who is your coach was able to play through some things, the expectations are that it's not going to be a stub toe or a hangnail that's going to keep you out.
All right, it's time for news. Here's Heather.
Well, a Macomb County man has been charged with second-degree murder in connection to the death of his mother-in-law. Kenneth McDonald is being held without bond and is facing the possibility of life in prison after allegedly strangling his 79-year-old mother-in-law to death in her Shelby Township home last week. The investigation is still ongoing, and police say a possible motive in the case has not been released. A Detroit woman hit the jackpot on a scratch-off lottery ticket. This lucky player, who is going to remain anonymous, won $2 million after buying this winning ticket at 8 Mile Foodland in Southfield. She chose to receive her prize in a one-time lump sum payout of about $1.3 million, and she plans to travel and also help her family. Good for her.
Yeah.
I just think that'd be so exciting because I've only won, I think I've won $30 maybe, which was exciting. Anything over the $10 mark when you win on a scratch off is like, that's
Do you just
big.
take it back to the counter and be like, I want 3 more of those?
And like a bag of Swedish fish. Yes, but I throw in like a little something
treat
extra.
for
Yeah,
you.
for sure. A Farmington High School boys basketball coach is under investigation for sexual assault. The coach is accused of hosting sexual study parties at his home in Detroit. And during one sleepover, a student said that the coach was standing over the boys completely naked. Multiple other children have spoken out about the alleged sexual assaults as well. This coach has been fired, has been banned from all Farmington school facilities and events. Yeah, is right. Yeah. Gas prices in Michigan are down 12 cents from a week ago and are trailing about 13 cents behind the national average, which is great, at $3.47. According to AAA, the price is 25% less than this time last month and 3/4 less than this time last year. And AAA says that it's due to tepid demand alongside descending oil prices. So I'll take
Whatever
it.
it takes, yeah.
Sure, I'll take it. Ex-NBAer and former Piston Josh Jackson has been accused of raping a woman last year in a New York City hotel. So this woman, who did file a federal lawsuit, says that she met him at a Super Bowl after party in 2022. And she says that they all ended up at a club together, and then he was texting her some things, and ultimately he sent her an Uber. She ended up at his hotel room. She says she thought that the party was going to continue there, but it turned out just to be him. She did stay there, and she fell asleep there. And that's when she says that she was sexually assaulted. She's also saying that she's been threatened by other people as well. She's also suing somebody else. He says, hold on, these are awful claims, but they're completely false. So see what happens there. You'll soon be able to go to a Netflix brick and mortar location. There's going to be a Netflix, I don't even want to call it a store, but there is going to be a store. It's going to be called Netflix House. There's going to be retail there. There's going to be dining and some live experiences. And it's all going to be centered around the TV shows and movies that are on Netflix. So the initial plans say that they're going to open 2 locations in the U.S. in 2025 and then expand to other major cities around the globe. I don't have all the details.
So it sounds like a Disney store with a character experience.
And they actually compared it. Somebody who is representing Netflix kind of compared it. Like if Disney can do this, right?
Yeah.
Based off of all of their characters and their movies, why can't we?
Well,
So
we'll see.
We'll see how it goes. I mean, I need to know more about it because it could be interesting, but it also seems weird right now, but I don't.
Depends on how good the food is.
And the show, like, are they like people like going to live shows? Like, are they going to be? I don't know. It'll be interesting. Yeah. Definitely for sure. Tyler Perry, what a great man. He is keeping up his word to help this 93-year-old woman in South Carolina. This woman was being pushed out of her home by this investment group because they purchased the 29 acres behind her property, and then they wanted her house as well, being kicked out of this home she's lived in forever. And at the time when this was all happening, he said, you know what, I'm going to help. And now he is doing that. He is building her a 5-bedroom home to replace the one she's living in with her grandkids. Wow. But there's always stories like this. He does these things all of the time. It's pretty cool.
That's great. All right. Thank you very much, Heather. Telephone number is 248-539-9797. By the way, happy birthday, Eminem.
Oh, how old?
51.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it just means I'm that much older, too. When you say that, oh
You're
my
not
God.
close to 51.
I'm not. No, I'm not.
Dan Campbell, who is probably close to 51, will join us next. 97 won the ticket.
Detroit, are you tired of damaging your drains with that liquid drain opener? You know, that's right. That liquid drain solution can make your problem even worse. That's why Carter's Plumbing is here to help. Carter's Plumbing specializes in all types of drain cleaning and repair, and they also offer a free camera inspection for every drain they open. So don't go back to the store this month. Just do what I did and go to callcartersplumbing.com today. Their licensed technicians will come to your home, and they're going to get your drains flowing the right way. Visit callcartersplumbing.com today and mention me, Heather, for $50 off your drain clearing solution.
My skills have eroded over the years for sure because I just don't play anymore. But there was nothing more embarrassing than when I suited up to play in a charity event to raise money for dwarf awareness. So there were a lot of little people were there, and their lives are not easy by any means. So this was a great cause and was part of this great event. And I was in fear of taking a shot because I thought that one of the little people was going to jump up and block my shot. And I just got I got flustered when he came at me when I was getting ready to do a 3-point shot.
Yeah.
And it ended up being like the worst air ball ever. I launched it way too early. It was the ugliest shot you've ever seen in your life. Why? Because I thought that somebody that was 3 feet tall was going to block my shot. Absolutely pathetic.
That's my favorite one.
seasons are very long and things change throughout the course of the season. If the Lions go to Baltimore and win, it's hard to envision where and if it could go south. Like you're setting yourself up.
Stop. We know there's one.
There's one thing. Yeah, there's one thing. But they are really setting themselves up to have a chance at that number 1 seed that he talked about. A win over Baltimore will go a long way toward helping about that. But even if they lose to Baltimore, the Lions' schedule compared to San Francisco and Philadelphia's is on paper significantly easier. They still have the 5 division games. They still have Denver on the schedule. I mean, they still have some teams that don't look very good, that really could nothing's a punch button win, right? But those are 6 games that Lions have the luxury of playing that Philly and San Francisco don't have.
This is true. I mean, the Bears, and we'll see what happens with Justin Fields if he's hurt for the long term or if he was just out for the rest of that game yesterday. But if he's out long term, that torpedoes what they're trying to build. Takes a big old detour.
Hey, when I have questions about my finances, I turn to my bank, and that's First Merchants Bank. I know that their attentive local bankers are 100% interested in listening to my situation and in helping me find the answers that I need. First Merchants doesn't provide cookie-cutter solutions or check-off boxes when it comes to financial advice. They take the time to learn about my life, my personal and financial goals, and they work with me to build a plan that fits my situation. And that's because First Merch Bank really cares. They care about you as an individual, not just as a number on a spreadsheet, and they're going to do all they can to help their customers and communities succeed. And you can count on that since First Merchants Bank is staffed by local bankers who know and are passionate about the needs of the local community because it's their community as well. And we know that we all have to work together to help our communities prosper. To get started on your personalized financial solution today, you can visit them at firstmerchants.com. That's firstmerchants.com, member FDIC.
We are nearing the end of the second show of the week, and it is Michigan State week, as we know. We'll get more into it as the week unfolds, but I would be remiss if I didn't mention that on this day, 8 years ago, one of the most important and I'll say disgusting plays in this rivalry took place. That, by the way, I believe was Chris Spielman who was speaking with Sean McDonough at the beginning of that.
Was it?
Yeah, I believe so. So you were on the field, right?
No, I was in the booth.
Oh, you were in the booth?
Yeah, because it was the last. No, it was the last play of the game, and I had to host the post-game show from the booth. And I've told this story before that I did one of my most professional things I've ever done as a broadcaster. We came back because at that time Jim Brandstatter went down to interview Jim Harbaugh,
right?
Which I'm glad I didn't have to do. And we came back, which I always brought it back from break. I said, hey, welcome back to Wolverines post-game show. Dan, your thoughts?
I was out of town and watching the game because it was on national television at a hotel in Long Island. And after Michigan held Michigan State, they got the ball. I got in the elevator, got in my car, found it on the satellite, wanted to listen to the end, and I almost drove off the road, Long Island Expressway, because I had your call.
Yeah.
I had, Jim and Dan. And I couldn't see it. I was just listening to it. So when I got to the bar mitzvah party, I immediately, of course, get out the phone and looked at it. I just you got to be freaking kidding me.
Yeah.
I had a little bit of angst as that punt was going to be attempted. Did you experience that feeling at all in the booth?
No.
Really?
No.
Like you were like, Mister, you played the game. It's not over till zeros. You thought it was in the bag.
No, I didn't think it was in the bag, but I didn't foresee him not catching the ball.
I've never said this. I've said it to some friends. I didn't like the last 2 minutes and how it was handled, and I was just kind of like, I don't know.
It was I mean, I didn't necessarily care for how it was handled either, but then I thought, okay, there's nobody back. Let's just kick it high.
Yeah.
Let it bounce.
How the last 2 minutes were handled.
I thought he could have managed the clock better. I thought he could have called different plays to grind out the clock.
Yeah, could have had a quarterback run around a little bit.
I just felt like there was something hanging. Not that I ever thought that would happen. No, by no means, no.
I'm just saying I don't want to get into a situation where these guys go for it on fourth down. It's
no way, no.
No. And it's
the style of punter, I was kind of starting to think about when you knew they were going to have to punt the ball. Yeah. I mean, that totally invited that play.
Exactly, Blake. Well, and a normal punter too could have dropped the ball, and who knows what would happen. But yes, it was
kickers.
Yes, exactly. Australians. Gator, we just played the 8-year anniversary of one of your favorite plays of all time.
Oh, Trouble with a Snap?
Yes, exactly. All right, one of your favorite things to do each and every week, I know I've been told by your dog. Your dog talks to me. It's the 2 Grand Slam.
Talks to everybody, Stoney. Don't feel like you're special.
I know. The contestant.
The thing is, Stoney converses back.
Yeah.
No.
Well,
Who doesn't talk to their dog?
Exactly. Anyway, the contestant today got 4 correct.
Oh, boy.
I am very confident you will do much better than that. All right, here we go. The clock will begin when I start. This Detroit Lion wears jersey number 8.
Reynolds.
This wide receiver currently leads the NFL in receiving yardage.
Tyreek Hill.
Carolyn Clifford is an anchor at this local television station.
Channel 7.
Who was the head coach of the Detroit Lions right before Matt Patricia?
Caldwell.
Alex DeBrincat was born in this Oakland County city.
Farmington. Hills.
Who does Ohio State host in football this coming Saturday?
Penn State.
Who is the host of The Golden Bachelor?
Yeah, pass.
This American rock band had the 2006 hit When You Were Young.
I know, Foo Fighters.
Michigan running back Donovan Edwards played at this high school.
West Bloomfield.
The Ravens drafted this wide receiver 22nd overall last April.
Pass.
Who is the host of The Golden Bachelor?
No.
You got 7 correct.
Chuck Gatica.
Chuck Gatica.
Is it Chris Harrison? Is that his
No,
name?
Jesse Palmer.
Jesse Palmer.
The Killers had the hit song When You Were Young back in 2006.
Oh.
And the Ravens drafted Zay
Zay
Flowers.
Flowers. I thought his Zay Flowers right
The
after.
22nd overall pick.
Now, he just said Reynolds.
I know. We're
I would
good.
have gone back and said Josh if that's what you would appease you.
That's what I do here. This is my role.
Yeah. Yes, I know that's what you do.
Some people are the sheriff, some people are the governor, you know?
No.
It's an authority
You gave
thing.
me the look I wanted.
Yeah, you're getting a look. You're definitely getting a look.
What do you guys got going today?
Well, we talked to Jared Goff coming up at 10:30.
Oh, that's
so
right,
It's going to
yes.
be fun. We're having much more fun this year while the team is winning, as I'm sure you guys can
Wish him a
attest.
happy birthday for us.
Yeah, it was his birthday, Saturday, I think. So
Yeah.
you guys can attest it out talking to Dan Campbell.
Mm-hmm.
We're also going to talk a little hockey.
Yeah.
Some action last night.
Absolutely.
Want to bring it to the attention of people.
Absolutely. Reimer looking really, really good. All right, Carson Anderson next. Have a great day, everybody. 97 won the ticket.
All right, as you heard Gator say, Tuesdays mean Jared Goff. And we'll talk to the Lions quarterback today at 10:30 here on Carson Anderson on 97.1 The Ticket. So, Monday Night Football last night. I'm amazed how the Chargers find ways not to win, given what they've got. Also, we've got Red Wing team with a good performance in Columbus. I don't know, man. Do we lead with the fight?
We got, but you just said something that makes me want to ask the question, and
Go
I
for
hate
it.
to derail things right off the bat.
Go for it.
It's
Derail
been
away.
17 and a half years. Why stop now?
Yeah.
You mentioned the Chargers and Justin Herbert. They've got all these things, right? Would
Yep.
you trade Justin Herbert for Jared Goff?
If I'm the Chargers, No.
I'm just asking right now.
And if I'm the Lions, no. Why?
Okay, well,
why do you don't?
well, because I think there's
you know
so
what?
many-
That's derailing a good thing. Like the first segment we had all planned out.
I don't disagree with
it.
you. I think that, you bring up a name like Justin Herbert, and I think people, their ears prick up and they're like, what's that?
I just.
He's great.
I
Isn't he great?
feel like this is the kind of topic that's going to lead invariably to somebody calling us idiots. But at this point, why derail a good thing? I mean, a very quick and hard no on that. I mean, that wouldn't happen. So, no, I wouldn't. Why'd you ask me that?
Want to put you in an uncomfortable position.
Yeah, thank you.
I think there are a lot of people out there who love Justin Herbert and thought that he was the guy, and
This guy's
they
playing.
passed on him, and he's been prolific out of the gate in terms of statistics.
Mm-hmm.
And this guy puts up numbers like nobody's business, except for the one column that matters, and that's wins. Now, obviously, it's a team game. You got to stack them up as a team, and they haven't been able to do it.
When you're playing this well right now, Gator, I don't think you trade Jared Goff for anybody. I know that sounds ridiculous, but why not? Why? I mean, why would you disrupt right now a top 5 offense? Everything's humming. If you traded it for another quarterback, you go back to square one.
I feel like you're attacking me. I just threw the
kinda
question
am.
out there.
I think it's a dumb question, and I'm upset with you.
Wow.
I'm very upset with you.
Kane, do you understand where I'm coming with this?
I don't want to answer the question, man.
Okay.
Why would you do this? Yeah, I'm with Doug on this. I'm kind of mad at you. I don't even want to think about something like this.
Here's the funny thing. It's,
I wouldn't.
I just looked
Absolutely
down
would
at
not.
Twitch.
Yeah.
All right. I looked
we
down
go.
at Twitch and hot dog bathwater.
That sounds about right.
Yeah. Posts. Gator woke up today and chose chaos. Yep. That's exactly what he did. He just pulled the pin on a grenade, rolled it in the room, and walked out. So, no, I'm going to start the whole show over, okay? You jackass.
Well, you had to make the statement about the Chargers.
The next obvious question isn't, would you trade for their quarterback? I just said the Chargers seem to have everything and they don't win. Then the connect the dots moment is, would you trade Goff for Herbert? No, that's not the connect the dots question.
I wouldn't, but I know there's some people out there that would.
And I will say there's respect for sometimes you ask questions on the show to spark debate that your answer might be no, but you just ask the question. But
I asked the question. I mean, get a younger quarterback, someone who's more mobile. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I'm pretty upset with you.
I didn't.
All right. Take 2, 3, 2, 1.
What did I do?
What?
What did I do?
You know exactly what you did. Let's try it again. Take 2 and 3, 2, 1. Now the open won't fire. We're trying to get the fire. We're trying to start the show. There we go.
That's not my fault.
Hi, Gator. How are you today?
I'm good, Doug. What'd you do last night?
I watched the Red Wings mostly.
Did you?
Yeah, mostly.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Mostly the Red Wings.
Anything else? You said mostly. There had to be something else. What else was on? Big Ten volleyball, something like that?
Yep. That's what it was.
Who won? Who was playing?
I don't even know.
Did McKenna play well?
The Journey. McKenna, yeah. Is that a volleyball name? McKenna.
How'd Kayla do? Was she good?
Yeah. McKenna, Mackenzie, Kayla, yeah.
Those are great names.
Great volleyball name.
Mackenzie, Michaela.
See, I like this open way better.
Would you trade Michaela for Mackenzie?
Yeah, so the Red Wing game. Fight last night. And look, they pounded Columbus. I mean, it was 4-0, and it felt like it could have been worse.
Oh, it definitely could have been worse. Red Wings were skating really well last night. They hit a couple posts, and look, puck didn't go Columbus's way. Oh well. Reimer makes a start. His first start to the Red Wing. It's a shutout. Nobody's done that since. Well, wait, last year. And Ville Husso had a shutout in his first effort. There were 4 goals scored. What's the max amount of points that can be accumulated on 4 goals?
12.
That's right, because you can have 2 assists on each goal.
Yeah.
Red Wings had 11 points out of the 4 goals, 11 out of possible 12, and they came from 11 different players.
That's kind of wild.
That is kind of crazy. But that shows the balance that they were playing with last night. That was a good hockey. That was good hockey last night for the Red Wings.
They did play well, and you get late in the game, and
I'm sorry, your first place Detroit Red Wings.
Klim Kostin and Eric Gudbranson, or whatever the hell his name is. It was a clean hit. Like, Kostin lit a guy up, and you could see the wheels churning and the gloves drop, and then they danced around for maybe 10 seconds before a punch was thrown. But it was funny. You know what I felt like watching that? I felt like I stepped into a time machine. Like, oh, here we go, an old school hockey fight. And you don't see them like we used to, and it feels very time machiney.
It is, and then you look and you see the modern twist to it, which is the stupidest twist ever, and that is that everybody's got a visor on their helmet, and so they're punching each other and hitting each other in the visor and breaking their hands and their knuckles and their fingers, and they're mashing them up, and they're getting all bloody hands and stuff because you have to hit the visor to hit the face.
Mm-hmm.
Because the league won't let you take your helmet off during a fight. It has to come off naturally, which is ridiculous. Otherwise, there's extra penalties and suspensions. I mean, Gary, this is the one thing that fans are probably number one most upset with Gary Bettman is that he is trying to legislate fighting out of the game. And look, I've changed over the years. I used to absolutely love the fighting in hockey. I'm fine with it. I'm okay. Fighting is okay. It's not the be-all, end-all for me anymore, so I don't defend it as vociferously as I used to. But this time, when you see what happens like that, you just shake your head and go, this is so stupid. Let them take their helmets off because they're just going to hurt themselves. And if you want to protect the players, and of course the people, they'll say, well, you don't think punching each other in the face is going to, they're not going to hurt themselves that way? Well, I mean, you get punched in the face, the referees do a pretty good job of making sure that you don't get too manhandled during the fight, that it's going to be an injury situation.
Well, Kostin effectively removed Gudbranson's helmet all by himself with a big swing. There was an uppercut that missed Kostin where I was like, oh, that would have done damage. I was very glad it missed. But I also do love that the hockey players, they show the bench shots after every fight and they're all banging their sticks. Way to go, pal.
I was on Facebook the other day, and something that I follow some kind of hockey thing on there, and periodically they show some fights from the past, and lately they've been showing a lot of old Probert fights. But they had an old Marty McSorley fight.
Yeah.
And Marty McSorley fought, I think the fight lasted 3 minutes long. It was the longest fight ever. And that's what I remember about McSorley.
Those things are exhausting, man.
Yeah.
People...
It's crazy.
You get worn down quick.
Yeah. The fights that I love in hockey are the ones where they're kind of evenly matched. They're the land. Each one of them is landing punches. It goes forever. The officials don't break it up, and the players are tired enough where they can just tap each other on the shoulder and go, "You done?" Like, yeah, I'm done. Good. And then they kind of like there's a mutual respect about it.
Felt to me like there was a little bit of verbal that last night. It looked like they kind of looked at each other. You good? Yeah, I'm good.
Well, I think the Columbus guy's like, I got it. I have to fight. We're down 4-0. You just laid out one of our players. I know it's a clean hit, but I got to do it.
We got nothing else going on tonight. This is for show.
Yeah.
We got to make sure we put on a good show here.
And Clean got the job done.
Jared Goff today at 10:30. Hey, Hall Financial, the mortgage lender that saved Michigan residents millions, now has an exclusive no-fee home loan. Whether you're purchasing a new home or refinancing, the no-fee home loan is undeniably the most cost-effective home loan in Michigan. This brand new mortgage option will save you thousands of dollars in closing costs you'd normally pay. If you aren't working with Hall Financial on your home loan, you're overpaying. Call Hall Financial right now to learn more about the no-fee home loan option. 866-CALL-HALL. Or chat with them online at callhallfirst.com. seasons are very long and things change throughout the course of the season. If the Lions go to Baltimore and win, it's hard to envision where and if it could go south. Like you're setting yourself up.
Stop. We know there's one.
There's one thing. Yeah, there's one thing. But they are really setting themselves up to have a chance at that number 1 seed that he talked about. A win over Baltimore will go a long way toward helping about that. But even if they lose to Baltimore, the Lions' schedule compared to San Francisco and Philadelphia's is on paper significantly easier. They still have the 5 division games. They still have Denver on the schedule. I mean, they still have some teams that don't look very good, that really could. Nothing's a punch button win, right? But those are 6 games the Lions have the luxury of playing that Philly and San Francisco don't have.
This is true. And the Bears, and we'll see what happens with Justin Fields if he's hurt for the long term or if he was just out for the rest of that game yesterday. But if he's out long term, that torpedoes what they're trying to build. Takes a big old detour.
Jeff Darlington, ESPN reporter, tweeted out a video last night of Lions fans just going nuts after the game. And he tweets, "I've seen a lot of opposing fan bases make noise for a team after a win, but the Lions might have topped them all today." Or as Jared Goff said to me as he left the field, "Are you seeing this? Best fans in the effing league." Peter King estimated there were 25,000 Lions fans.
Wow.
Doug Carr, Scott Anderson, 97.1. The other thing to the Red Wing game, like the hockey part of it, not the fight part of it, is James Reimer gets a shutout, which is good. I mean, they were discussing during the game kind of what you need from the backup goaltender position if you're going to make the playoffs, and what you want is better than what they were last year. I think they said they wanted a 550. They wanted to win 50% of the games as a backup, and that. I don't know if that's setting the bar. I haven't paid that much attention. I thought it was an interesting way to look at it is, okay, you're not going to play one goalie all 82 games. So
right.
What do you expect? What's a reasonable expectation out of the backup spot? Shutouts,
That's a good way. That's a good way to start.
A decent start.
Yeah, we like that. Shutout's good.
Mm-hmm. But
four goals in a game is good.
Yep.
This was a good game last night.
But take that for sure.
Take it for data.
Yep. Okay. So it's funny. You get into the rhythm of the football season. You come to learn what every day, kind of what it means for us here and what it leads to with talk. And one of the things that happens every Tuesday is all the power rankings come out. They aren't significant in really any way. They don't mean anything. It just seems to be what people do in the National Football League. Is Tuesday they release their power rankings, which is basically if Pro Football had polls, what vote, where would your team fit into the mix? And we'll talk to the quarterback of our team today at 10:30, Jared Goff. But power rankings came out today, Gator. I want your thoughts. Sports Illustrated. This is their top. I'm going to list it till we kind of get through the top 3 in the NFC. Sports Illustrated goes San Francisco, Kansas City, Philly, Miami, Buffalo, Cincinnati, Detroit, 7th. Behind all those teams, including Cincinnati. Interesting. The Athletic, Miami, San Francisco, Detroit, Philly. The Lions 3rd. ESPN, San Francisco, Kansas City, Miami, Philly, Detroit. Lions 5th. CBS goes Kansas City, Miami, Detroit, 3rd. And let me see where they got everybody else here. I apologize. San Francisco 4, the Eagles 5. Then this morning on ESPN, they asked the question of the Get Up crew, who's the best team in the NFC? Sal Paolantonio said Philly. Dominique Foxworth said San Francisco. Dan Graziano said Detroit. And Jeff Saturday with the tiebreaker said San Francisco. But we have actually entered an era clearly where we are licensed to debate whether or not our team is the best in the NFC. Go.
I think, well, first, in regards to these power rankings, I think that there are those that believe and those that want one more game to believe. And those that have them at like 7th, they're waiting to be, they want validation to be a game against Baltimore. Like if they beat, the Lions beat Baltimore, then like, okay. I'll put them at 3rd.
Mm-hmm.
And I can understand that. I hate power rankings. I think they're the dumbest thing ever.
Do you?
Yeah. Because it's like, what am I basing this on? Am I basing this on what I think the team is, what the team will be at the end of the season, what they are right now, snapshot of time, what they could be? I don't know. I just think it's so dumb. I think the Lions belong in a discussion, being in a top 5 team in the National Football League. I think that they are. The fact that they're top 5 in overall overall offense, they're top 10 in overall defense. This is a good football team through and through that has very few flaws compared to where they were a few years ago, when it was like this team is chock full of holes. They need to plug all these holes with draft picks and do what you can in free agency, whatever. Brian Holmes has done a brilliant job of building this team. I mean, but I guess I just can't stand the power ranking.
Okay, well, just play along then for the purposes of whether or not we're the best team in the NFC. We don't even have to reference the power rankings.
I still think I would say that they're still 3rd.
Would you?
Yeah.
You haven't seen, you want to see a little bit more.
And the thing is, because my rationale for it, it's really kind of unfair to the Lions, because I'll apply the same to the Lions, and I still want to see it. I want to see them with Brian Branch out in the field. I want to see them with the healthy offensive line. I want to see them with Gibbs and Montgomery in the backfield. That's what I want to see. Just like if I'm going to judge Philadelphia, I want to see it with, the 2 big Georgia guys up the middle. I want to see it with healthier players all around.
I think they missed Jalen Carter for 1 game, so you've seen a lot of it.
They just got Nakobe Dean back.
Yeah.
But then you look at San Francisco, and they're dealing with their share of injuries right now. So all teams do. Now, I got them 3rd.
The thing about Philly and San Francisco is they have a longer track record of success. They have shown it that it doesn't feel like you need to debate whether or not they're good. They are good. They are NFC championship game kind of caliber good, where you don't have to envision could it happen. We have seen their postseason success. So it's understandable. And then when is part of the equation of whether or not you're the best that you have the easiest schedule. Because it might not mean you're the best, but it might mean you're set up for the best success, the best path to success. If Detroit can take advantage of this schedule and become the number 1 seed in the NFC, they likely won't have to play both San Francisco and Philly in the postseason. And when they play only one of them, it will be right down the road at Ford Field.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
So whether or not you're the best, it'd be great to say unequivocally we are the best. I feel pretty secure in saying we're set up for the best success in the NFC. And it has a ton to do with the schedule. And being the number 1 seed, like the first goal is to win the division. Well, hell, they're 2.5 games up, and whatever we are, 6 weeks into the season. That's building yourself a pretty big lead. So that looks like it's trending very strongly in the right direction. Outside of that, how high of a seed you can be is the next thing.
It's the toughest coaching job from here on out for the Lions staff to keep this team focused on only the game that's ahead.
I mean, I don't
keep
think
them
so.
Grounded.
I think that's part of every coach's challenge, because the one thing that the Lions have, they have the new hunger and desire, right? They're a new team to this. Everybody else expects to go to the playoffs, has been to the playoffs. And I think it's probably a little bit more going through the motions for teams like Kansas City Like we used to do with the Red Wings, man. The Red Wings, the playoffs was all that mattered. The regular season was fun. Let's get together and go watch some hockey. And hell, half the fans hung out in the Olympia room, because the games didn't matter until the postseason because you were killing time. I think that's you're more prone to doing that in established NFL winners like Philly and San Francisco and Kansas City than we are in Detroit because everything's new here.
No, it's all new, and I think it's funny how the mentality of the fan changes as the season goes on. You start the season, get the expectations. 10 wins, 12 wins, whatever you got. Now we're 6 games into the season. They're 5-1. They look like one of the best teams in the league, and now it's like, okay, how do we protect ourselves to make sure that we can still be as good? Because that's where my mind is at. My mind right now is, okay, how do the Lions manage to keep things in check and keep the egos in check, and let's not get too inflated because everyone is throwing flowers at this team right now.
Well, maybe one of the questions for Jared Goff, who joins us next here on Carson Anderson, 97.1 The Ticket. Seasons are very long and things change throughout the course of the season. If the Lions go to Baltimore and win, it's hard to envision where and if it could go south. You're setting yourself up.
Stop. We know there's one.
There's one thing. Yeah, there's one thing. But they are really setting themselves up to have a chance at that number 1 seed that he talked about. A win over Baltimore will go a long way toward helping about that. But even if they lose to Baltimore, the Lions' schedule compared to San Francisco and Philadelphia's is on paper significantly easier. They still have the 5 division games. They still have Denver on the schedule. They still have some teams that don't look very good, that really could. Nothing's a punch button win, right? But those are 6 games the Lions have the luxury of playing that Philly and San Francisco don't have.
This is true. The Bears, and we'll see what happens with Justin Fields if he's hurt for the long term or if he was just out for the rest of that game yesterday. But if he's out long term, that torpedoes what they're trying to build. Takes a big old detour.
Doug Hire, Scott Anderson, 97.1 The Ticket. Hope you're doing well on this Tuesday. Red Wings winners last night. Lions win on Sunday. Red Wings, hey, they might be doing the thing we asked the Tigers to do. It might not be good, but at least it'd be interesting. Maybe they are good. Maybe they are good.
I think the Wings are a playoff team.
I know you believe that. I'm not believing it just yet, but there are. This first few games, I'll call it what it is. It's a good start.
A packed house tomorrow night at the LCA.
Yeah, is that another streamed game?
Oh, I hope not.
I think it is. I think it is another stream game. So you can tune in here at 97.1 The Ticket.
Certainly, you listen to Ken and Paul.
Yep. I'm not completely sure. Near the end of the broadcast line, last night on Bally's, they made the comment that, oh no, it's not a stream game. It's on TNT.
Oh, it's an actually televised game.
Yep.
That's what they said.
So it's not a stream game. But they made the comment that they wouldn't be on the Wednesday game. So better it's on TNT than a game that is streamed only. We know how that goes over. Lions, we ranked, we read off some of the power rankings, and we can launch into a very serious discussion about whether or not our team is the best in the NFC as it stands right now. But it's early. One of the things that I was reminded of in watching the games on Sunday is seasons are long. There are ebbs and flows. A year ago at this time, it looked helpless. 1 year later, it could look better, but not much better. So things change, and they can change in a hurry. Now, there are trends. Like the Lions went from being a bad team to a good team that may be getting better. Did you happen to hear Dan Campbell's interview this morning?
Just very little.
Okay. He had a comment about Jared Goff, that Jared Goff is getting better. And that you can't, just because, at this point in his career doesn't mean that he's done evolving. He thinks he's getting better as it stands right now. So as this thing, progresses forward, it feels like it's going in a very good, things change. So long seasons are long, but right now we can debate whether or not our team is the best in the NFC, and they've set themselves up. All right, let's talk to the quarterback. Jared, as always, thank you very much for being with us. And I just want to start with something that is kind of crazy. Another Detroit Lion fan road game takeover. How noticeable is it to you, and how much of a difference does it make when you're in a visiting stadium and Lions fans are making that much noise?
Yeah, it's extremely noticeable. We noticed it pregame, really, before the game even started, how many of our fans were there, and you never know if it's gonna, if their fans are gonna show up as the pregame goes by. But sure enough, as we walked out of the tunnel for the game, it was a sea of blue kind of behind our bench, and yeah, it means a hell of a lot. It doesn't quite feel like we're playing in a hostile environment anymore. It feels like we are playing, in front of our home fans. And when we're on defense, man, it's loud. It's not as loud as a home game, but it's loud enough to give them some issues on offense. And you can't ask for much more from your fans, and it's been awesome to see it.
Does that continue after the game when you guys are getting on the buses to head to the airport too? Are there fans waiting for you?
Oh yeah. They're fired up, and we love their support. We love seeing them on the road games, and it means a lot.
I wanted to ask you this, because after these wins on the road, and it's just a lot of fun to watch, and the team doing like victory laps around and high-fiving with the fans, are you or any member of your team afraid to engage with GM Brad Holmes after a win for fear of his overly aggressive high five?
Yeah, man, he kind of sees red or blacks out or something, and goes wild there. I was kind of laughing when he was doing it with the crowd. Man, it's so cool to see. We love his energy and his passion, and it bleeds into us in some ways too. But yeah, man, it's always fun to see him get that fired up, and we love it.
So yesterday we had packed phone lines all day. Everybody's jacked up, and the one play everybody wanted to talk about, or many people wanted to talk about, was Craig Reynolds' block. From your perspective, that play, it's a third down. You throw it to Amon-Ra underneath. He's got to get some ground to get the first down. He sets up the blocks brilliantly before he can knife up the field. But take us through it from your perspective, that play that led to the touchdown.
Yeah, I think what was it, like 3rd and 11 or 3rd and 12, and really in that situation, I'm thinking about can we get close to going for it on 4th? Can we get to 4th and 3 or 4th and 2 so we can go for it? Or, if it's 4th and 5, 4th and 6, maybe we'll just kick a field goal. Especially when you're in that red zone area. So just getting the ball to Saint, one of our best players, getting the ball in space, and he kind of did the rest. And obviously Craig's block, sprung him, but it was a great play all around. And you kind of see it developing as Craig's getting out in front of him. You're like, ooh, this might have a chance. And sure enough, they did the rest. It was a lot of fun.
How many times did you guys watch and rewatch that block?
A lot, yeah. I mean, I've seen it a million times at this point, but yeah, it's a testament to who Craig is and what he means to our team, and obviously Saint making the play with the ball in his hands. But yeah, it was a cool play all in all to score a touchdown there on a play that really wasn't supposed to be much more than 5 to 10 yards.
So you've talked to us last year and taught us a little bit about what it means when a quarterback and a wide receiver have great chemistry. Amon-Ra and you are on the same page, it feels like, all the time. Tell us a little bit, is there a play or two that stood out in this game where you're like, okay, that's where the chemistry matters, that's where the trust matters? Is there a play that you can think of in this game where it really, that we wouldn't have noticed just being fans watching the game?
Sure, yeah. It might have been the first 3rd down or the second 3rd down. I threw it to him like right in front of the safety.
Yep.
And he caught and then tackled pretty quickly. And I threw that so early, way before his break, knowing that it was going to be that tight. And that's just trust. I trust him to cross that safety's face. Not all receivers have the balls to do that, to run in there knowing they're going to get hit and make that catch and finish it and pick up the first down. And then at the end of the game, we were at like a 3rd and 3, and he ran just a little quick out. And again, I kind of knew what he was going to do, speed it up a little bit and get himself open. And he ran a great route, made a great catch, and it's that anticipation that I'm able to play with him because he's so consistent. I can trust him.
Yeah, I think that last play was one where they had the pylon cam and Saint dove and caught it and then plowed over the pylon cam. It was a great replay and just enough for the first down.
Josh Reynolds apparently only catches passes for first downs and touchdowns. 18 of his 19 receptions have gone that way. How happy are you for him and that Brad Holmes actually made the deal to bring him here to Detroit?
Yeah, extremely happy for him. I think he's another example of another guy on our team that he went from LA to Tennessee. Didn't work out for him in Tennessee. Was put on the practice squad there, or put down from active to inactive, and became available. And Brad made the move, whatever that was 2 years ago, and he's just kept ascending since, and has meant a lot to our offense right now, man. He's really provided a spark for us in certain areas, and is playing so confident and is making tough catches and blocking really hard and doing everything right. So it's a testament to who he is, and he just keeps getting better every week.
How about that Jamison Williams touchdown? Take us through that play and what it means to get him going.
Yeah, it means a lot. We want to try to get the ball in his hands as much as possible with how explosive he is. But, we ran like a, kind of a quick snap concept where we just kind of walked up and snapped it. And on defense, they do a lot of disguise there in Tampa, and they wanted to disguise their single high safety down in the box and kind of caught him off guard and, ran by him. And Jamison ran a great route. Jamison made a hell of a catch on it. It wasn't my best throw of the day, but he made a great catch kind of spinning around there. And, sometimes that happens. Those guys make plays too. And it's a lot of fun when guys like him can get open and you can get him the ball.
What did it mean for you after the game when coach is there in the locker room handing out game balls and you get one of the game balls?
Yeah, it means a lot. He doesn't give out game balls that often. So when he does, it carries pretty significant weight. And, it means a lot. I've been, trying to do my best for our team, trying to get wins, and for him to recognize that is great. But it's always a result of a team effort. It really always is. And our defense was giving us short fields. They were getting off the field quickly, putting us back on the field. I thought the O-line protected really well against a really good defense, a really complicated defense that was bringing a lot of blitzes. And, I just made some throws. It felt good all day sitting in there. But, it feels good when Dan does that. But, it's always a team thing whenever there's game balls going out. It only happens after wins,
Yeah. Lions quarterback Jared Goff with us here on 97.1 The Ticket. Everybody says the same things when players get hurt. Hey, we have a next man up mentality. but that doesn't mean it's just there's going to be no drop off. What is it about this group that you've been able to do, what you've been able to do, where it feels like sometimes you have 4 or 5 starters out offensively and you're really not missing a beat?
Yeah, I think it is next man up, absolutely, and the guys who have stepped in have done a hell of a job. I think Coyote and Graham. I know Graham's played a lot of football, but stepping in for Big B, he's played great since he's been in, and I think that as well as when you guys go down, you need your best players to turn it on even more, and I think that's what you've seen. I think Frank and Deck and Panay have played off the charts this year, and then you go down the list, you go with Saint and some of these guys on the outside, and Montgomery, and all these guys that have picked up the slack in some ways, and that's what good teams do. You find ways to win when things may be not in your favor, and we've done that.
13-3 in the last 16 games, 5-1 to start the season. It's been fantastic. But looking ahead, what is the biggest test for the rest of the season? Is it a single game? Is it a mindset? Is it staying injury-free? What do you see as the biggest test ahead?
Yeah, I think it's TBD. There will be something. There will be some adversity to come. We've won 4 straight. Everything's daisies and roses right now. We're winning a bunch of games. It feels good, and you'd like to win all of them and finish the season 16-1. And but if that doesn't happen, there's going to be some sort of adversity at some point that we've got to push through and come back and bounce back from. But we're not there yet. We're just keeping our head down one game at a time, and got to go beat Baltimore this week. It'll be another tough one on the road, another good defense, another explosive offense, and it'll be a huge challenge for us, but one that we'd like to get.
I don't know how you felt about this before this season, but let me know if it's any different or not. But do you look forward to road games now?
Yeah, you love being at home in front of our home crowd, but yeah, it's fun to see our fans do what they've done the last few road games and show up and make the crowd atmosphere not fully an away game. It really isn't. Like, we'll throw a touchdown or have a big play and hear the crowd roar, and I'm like, holy smokes, we're all the way in Florida, and it feels like we're at home. So it's a lot of fun, and hopefully it's the same this week.
Early look at Baltimore, big game looming this weekend. What stands out, or what is your early read on some keys for you guys offensively against that defense?
Yeah, another really good defense. I think last week Tampa is one of the top defenses in the league, and this will be no different. Another really good defense, very similar in some ways. 2 really good linebackers again that we got to handle, and a really good young, athletic defensive backs, and then a good front. So it's a tough defense. They're always tough. It's at their place. It's going to be loud. It's going to be a good environment. It'll be a challenge, but we'll be ready.
You had a birthday over the weekend. You're still this side of 30. Did you get a chance to go out for your birthday, and what'd you do?
I did not go out. No, I stayed here. Just me and my fiance had dinner at the house, and traveled on Saturday, which was my actual birthday, and played the game the next day. But yeah, no, I haven't had a chance to go out and celebrate, and maybe on the bye week we'll see.
Now that you've been around for more than a couple years here in Detroit, have you found your go-to pizza joint?
Ooh. Yes, I have. I don't eat pizza that often, but when I do, I was doing the Detroit style stuff for a little while. I can't remember the name of the place, a couple of years ago, and kind of like, all right, I want to try something different. There's a place, Brooklyn Pizza. I know it's not very
in Birmingham, yeah.
Yeah, in Birmingham, it's not. I believe they're a chain. I believe it's specific to Birmingham, but that's been my favorite as of late.
There you go.
Solid pie.
Happy birthday, and keep up the good work. We appreciate you joining us each and every week, and we'll talk next week.
All right, guys. Thank you.
Thanks, Jared.
There he is, Lions quarterback Jared Goff, joining us every Tuesday here on 97.1 The Ticket. Lions will likely have a new running back in uniform coming up on Sunday. We will tell you who at 10:50 here on 97.1 The Ticket. Hey, looking ahead to the weekend, Twin Peaks has you covered. Saturday is shaping up to be one of the better sports days of the fall. It all starts at noon as that team from the South takes on Penn State. Then stay seated Jeff Darlington, after the ESPN game for reporter. UFC 294. 2 dynamite Tweeted matchups. out a video last night. Osman taking on
Lions fans
Shemaev,
just
leading up to a highly anticipated rematch between Makachev and Volkanovski. And when that wraps up, you got the game in East Lansing Saturday at 7:30. Know that we talk about it a lot, but there isn't a better place to catch a fight or a game than Twin Peaks. Scratch-made food. They have people in there every day preparing the food so it's fresh to serve to you. It's not heat and serve. They got great things like the wings, the tenders, The smash burgers, the Billionaire's Bacon Burger is a favorite of a lot of people. And if you pair that with a 29-degree draft, a $3.99 screwball shot, you can kick back and watch games while Twin Peaks girls, they take excellent care of you. And now they got new hours. They're staying open later on weeknights till midnight and on weekends, Fridays and Saturdays to 1 a.m. So you night owls out there, take advantage of that. Plus, they've added bonus late night happy hours Monday through Thursday. For details, go to TwinPeaksRestaurant.com to join the E-Club so you know about all this stuff. TwinPeaksRestaurant.com /Peaks-Club. Check it all out. TwinPeaksRestaurant.com. Tom Pelissaro tweets out, with injuries in the backfield, the Lions are re-signing running back Mo Ibrahim to their practice squad per his agent. Now, I'll admit I read that wrong. I thought they were signing him from the practice squad. They're re-signing him to the practice squad.
Well,
so that doesn't mean he's going to be in uniform. So that's I will straight up admit that was my bad. Saw it right before the break, and I thought, oh. And so then I realized they were signing him to the practice squad.
Well, I think I don't know if it's significant or not, but considering the options that they had, Jamar Jefferson is not on the practice squad, right?
No.
And Snell.
Zigbo was the guy in the practice squad.
But Snell, that was the other guy in the preseason that they had at running back. He's not on the practice squad.
Nope.
So Ibrahim is now on the practice squad. So that means that he's next man up. If he's called on.
Look. So Zigbo, assuming then David Montgomery, we hear he's out for a while. Jahmyr Gibbs, we don't know. Zonovan Knight, season over. Barely knew you, unfortunately. So Craig Reynolds, Divine Zigbo, and I mean, you kind of want a third running back, right? They ran Khalif Raymond out of the running back spot, but they did.
Yeah, he can do that, and that's something I think Dan Campbell mentioned yesterday. Is that look, if we had to, we can go to the wide receiver core and do something there. Let's hope that they got a healthy Jahmyr Gibbs, healthy enough to play, and Craig Reynolds, and that they can get that job done with those guys. But you know me, I'm a big Ibrahim fan.
Yep,
love Mo Ibrahim. Ran for over 1,600 yards last year with Minnesota. I think it's significant what he did there because that's all Minnesota had going for them was the running game. And everybody knew you had to stop Mo, and they couldn't stop him. Do you remember Zigbo at all at Nebraska?
Nope.
He was a 1,000-yard rusher his last year there. 7 yards a carry.
Pretty decent. Strong to quite strong.
I did not remember him at all either at Nebraska.
So I'm just looking back at the Lions preseason game against the Giants. Divine Zigbo, 11 carries, 31 yards. Benny Snell, 6 carries, 23 yards. Mo Ibrahim, 4 carries, 9 yards. None of them did all that much in the
Mo got hurt.
Giants game. Yeah. Jamar Jefferson got 6 carries and 16 yards against Jacksonville in the preseason. Benny Snell, 3 carries, 15 yards. And then the last preseason game was against Carolina. And let's see here. Benny Snell, 5 carries, 26 yards. Divine Zigbo, 4 carries, 3 yards. It's funny, looking back at this, Benny Snell probably had the best preseason of any of these guys. But it's a lot more than just what you do with the ball in your hands that gets you these jobs. So I feel like that we, at any given time, are going to be saying, well, given all the injuries, they couldn't keep it up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
I totally know what
I
you mean.
went down, like we opened the show, and we talked some Red Wings actually to open the show, but we then got into whether or not the Lions were the best team in the NFC.
Talked some Chargers too.
No, we didn't. God. Idiot. I went through and I tried to see if the Lions have absolutely had more injuries than Philadelphia and San Francisco, and the answer is yes. Like the Lions are in this conversation. It feels like they've invaded the Big Two, and now are getting debate. If you look at power rankings, some people think they're the best team in the NFC. Some people think they're the second best team in the NFC, and some people think they're still the third best team in the NFC. And it doesn't really matter because all this stuff will play itself out on the field. These are just opinions 6 weeks into the season. But one of the most impressive things is the laundry list of injuries. And it's not like guys who are day-to-day. Like San Francisco's got key players who are day-to-day. The Lions have missed starters for weeks.
Yeah.
And have overcome them. Now, are any of them as good as Christian McCaffrey? Probably not, but he's day-to-day. Right?
Yeah.
I mean,
but Deebo Samuel, are they, who missed most of the game on Sunday, but they say he's day-to-day, might play on this next
he's
week,
day-to-day.
maybe not.
Trent Williams, day-to-day.
Well,
and
these guys Trent Williams missed like a series and came back, so I imagine he's ready to play. But looking at Philadelphia, they've had guys that have missed more than a week on their roster, and they've had a lot of guys that have missed one game, but they're key guys. Darius Slay, Jalen Carter have each missed, Fletcher Cox, all three of those guys have missed a week. Nakobe Dean has missed 4 weeks. Avonte Maddox, the other corner, he's missed 4 weeks. They've got some players that have been out, and that's why I look at Philadelphia and I'd say, okay, Philadelphia's in maybe it's not the same situation the Lions are with injuries, but they've been bit by it a little bit. I think they're a pretty deep team. And
I think the Lions.
I think the Lions are a pretty
thing,
deep team as well. I just don't know if the bottom part of the Philly roster is that higher than the bottom part of the Lions roster. Might be nitpicking, and I really don't care. I'd love to see the teams line up in January. I'm ready for it. I'm here for it.
Yep.
Don't you think the next 2 weeks the fans are really going to be focused on Jahmyr Gibbs? Because David Montgomery is probably going to be out a couple weeks, it sounds like, because it didn't sound like he's coming back next week for sure. So the next 2 weeks, you have a guy, and they haven't said Jahmyr Gibbs is going to play this upcoming week, but it sounds like he's trending that way. The focus is going to be from the fans is, hey, why do we trade, or they didn't trade up for him, but why do we draft this guy so early? Why do we take a running back this early? These
running
next
backs
2
are
weeks.
disposable. It didn't need to do that. And sure, I'm with you, King. It is important. It's important for him. It's important for the team to see what they have. If he's durable enough to last through this, or is this going to be DeAndre Swift / every other running back that we've seen drafted by this team since Barry Sanders, where you get a glimpse, but it's not enough? I hope that's not the case. I hope he's ready to play Sunday, and I hope he plays well. At Baltimore is not going to be easy. It's a team that's pretty good against the run, pretty stout against the run. And then they got the home game, the Monday night against Vegas. So there's an extra day, which is nice. And then you have a bye week after that. So get healthy. What I want to see is this team go out to LA, take on the Chargers after the bye week, and everyone's healthy. Everyone's ready to go. That's the week we look at it and we're like, oh my God, look who's in the lineup. Brian Branch is here. There's Jahmyr Gibbs. There's David Montgomery. We got the offensive line is finally, Jonah Jackson's back. Hey, look at him. Big V is ready to come back to starting at the right guard. And it's awesome to look at. This is the team that was, how is it supposed to be constructed?
248-539-9797. Do you think the Lions are the best team in the NFC, or are they simply set up to have the most success in the NFC? There is a difference. It's Carson Anderson, 97.1 The Ticket. Seasons are very long, and things change throughout the course of the season. If the Lions go to Baltimore and win, it's hard to envision where and if it could go south. You're setting yourself up.
Stop. We know there's one.
There's one thing. Yeah, there's one thing. But they are really setting themselves up to have a chance at that number 1 seed that he talked about. A win over Baltimore will go a long way toward helping about that. But even if they lose to Baltimore, the Lions' schedule compared to San Francisco and Philadelphia's is on paper significantly easier. They still have the 5 division games. They still have Denver on the schedule. I mean, they still have some teams that don't look very good, that really could nothing's a punch button win, right? But those are 6 games that Lions have the luxury of playing that Philly and San Francisco don't have.
This is true. I mean, the Bears, and we'll see what happens with
Brought to you
Justin
by
Fields
Auto Accident Attorneys Applebaum and Stone. Dan Campbell says that resiliency is the main reason the Lions are 5-1 and in line for the first division title in a very long time. Probably pretty high up on that list of other key cogs is Jared Goff. We gushed over with Stoney and Jansen this morning on 97.1. And Coach also said they will find a way to keep the ball moving on the ground without David Montgomery if needed, even if they don't hand it off. Michigan football now are on 3-1 odds to win the national title, according to Vegas. That puts them at the top as number 1 Georgia loses their star tight end Brock Bowers to a high ankle sprain for the foreseeable future. Also, Jim Harbaugh is going with blood when taking sides for the upcoming Lions versus Ravens matchup. He says he'll be rooting for his brother and Baltimore over Aiden Hutchinson and Detroit. Wings forward Robbie Fabry continues to be day-to-day with an undisclosed injury. The hope is that he'll return for their face-off against the Penguins tomorrow night. Detroit has won 2 straight. And in baseball, the Phillies will look to take a 2-0 series lead as they host the Diamondbacks again tonight for the second tilt of the NLCS. Former Tiger Nick Castellanos has a team-high 27 total bases in the postseason so far. He and Bryce Harper have combined for 9 home runs in 7 games. At the Ticket Update Desk, I'm Chris Villar. For more, go to 97.1 The Ticket and Odyssey.com.
Champ and Chump have been posted. Heavy voting yesterday. Go check it out at 971theticket.com. You can also follow the link from our Twitter account at DougAndGator971. We've tweeted that out. So check it out for yourself. We're discussing whether or not the Lions, look, I think it's a safe debate that we can have. I think we're licensed to have a debate whether or not they're the best team in the NFC, given what happened over the weekend. That's A. And B, even if they aren't the best team, they appear to be set up for the best path to success given the schedule. Seasons are long, man. Things change. A year ago at this time, things looked pretty hopeless. And yet they've turned it around, and things can go south in a hurry. We all know that. And this past weekend was a prime example of how, I mean, San Francisco was a double-digit favorite against Cleveland and lost. Philadelphia was in the process of putting the Jets away, and then their quarterback made a terrible decision. And through an interception, they lost. And those weren't the good teams that they lost to.
And another team that's being considered there is Dallas.
Yeah.
Dallas had an embarrassing loss to Arizona.
Dallas's resume, the record was way better than their resume, and it still might be, but Dallas is amazing after they lose games. But a year ago at this time was about when that Lions actually started to turn it around. I'm incorrect. Their second win came November 6th. Then on November 13th, they beat Chicago. And so they just started. They were 3-6 at that time. So it's a little over a year ago. It looked helpless. But it's a reminder of how long seasons are and how things can change. But, man, are they set up. I mean, they are set up. And, I think we can talk about Super Bowl as a possibility here. Because if you're the 1 seed, man, that's a huge deal.
Well, it is a huge deal. And yeah, if you play the schedule game, you'll look at it, and on paper, that's what it is. It's the easiest route for them because of who they play. Their opponents' win percentage is below 40%. Mm-hmm. And the other teams that are vying for that, the winning percentage of the teams they have left to play is above 50%, right?
Yep.
I mean, that's just by the numbers. It looks that way. Obviously, you got to play the games. And that's why I want to ask Jared Goff that question of what's the biggest obstacle to come here, because I think as fans worry that does the game go to the heads of the players? Do they start looking at the press clippings? Because as you keep winning games, more people are heaping praise on you.
Yep.
It's one thing for the own fan base to heap praise. That's what we do. We're fans. But it's another when you've got demands. One of the questions I wanted to ask Jared that we didn't have time for was, now that you guys are winning, have the requests, the interview requests, the media requests, have they gone up significantly for you? Here they are at 5-1. They're being talked about on national TV as one of the favorites in the NFC. You know, you listed off the power rankings that all these people had. They're in the top 3 in power rankings for the entire NFL. It can't help but get to the heads of some of the players. The question is, how much space does it fill up there? Does it go in and out? They just, hey, I got it. I'm seeing it, but I'm gonna process it and put it in this other file to be, looked at later, or is it, get inflated there and they start thinking about themselves differently? You hope that's not the case, and I think they've got the right coaching staff and the right front office, and I think they've got the right mix of players to kind of keep that all in check. But for a lot of these guys, this is virgin territory to be winning like this. Fortunately, they've got other guys that have been to Super Bowls.
248-539-9797. Ed, you're on 97 The Ticket. What's up, Ed?
Yes, good morning. You guys have just explained it perfectly, and I agree with you totally. I think they are set up for success, but that's the way it happens. They got a great schedule, who they're playing. Their division stinks, but they do have some quality, talented players and great coaching. But I do not believe they are the best team in the NFC.
Is there? I mean, there's certainly nothing wrong with not believing that. What is the reason you don't believe they're the best team in the NFC?
Well, I still believe that San Francisco and Philly are dominant forces in the NFC. I do believe the Lions, like I say, have the best pathway to the Super Bowl because of their schedule and possibly getting that first round bye if they're the number 1 seed. And that could very much so happen.
Yeah.
They're playing great.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I agree with you more than disagree with you. But at the end of the day, it's about, making the most of the opportunity that's presented to them, and realistically, exactly. Right? And the opposite. It feels like the opportunity has been presented to them right now. They've earned it to make a run at this number 1 seed. I mean, that's still 2 months away. You know
what's crazy when you say that with
2.5 months.
When you say number 1 seed,
yeah,
I think about 2.5 years ago when they were competing for the number 1 pick in the draft because they were so bad.
Yep.
And how far that they've come. Now it's 6 games. They're 5-1. We know there's a whole season to play here. We know they got to get to the postseason. You got to win a playoff game to get people to buy in. And some people, it's winning 2 games for them to totally buy in. I think everybody wants to. But there's a percentage of people out there that's still reluctant. But to see how far they've come from, being that team that is a half a win away from landing the top pick in the draft. Now, would that have changed anything? I think they probably still would have taken Aiden Hutchinson first overall in that draft. But that's where they were, and this is where they are.
Well,
it's fun to look
how many times do you remember me saying, hey, in the NFL, you can turn it around pretty quick?
Yeah.
I'd say, I mean, look, all around, it's happened everywhere but here. But everybody, you can do it. It can be done. It just doesn't happen here. And now it's happened here. And the wild thing is like you talk about questions you didn't have time with for Goff. Think about where the defense was a year ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
They've gone from a
worst defense in football
to, comfortably in the top 10 in football right now. And I don't know where they're going to settle in. Maybe they will get better as this year goes on. Because hell,
they can stay healthy,
right? And they're missing a bunch of guys. Pascal's going to be back soon. It's optimism that Branch could be back soon.
Hopefully it's Sunday.
248-539-9797.
We haven't even unleashed Broderick Martin yet.
No, we've not. Al, you're on 97 on the ticket. Hi, Al.
Hi, fellas. How you guys doing?
Okay.
Yeah, I don't believe the Lions are the best team in the NFC, not by far. One is the coach, and I'm not, the coach is great, but his analytics is messed up, just like in the Seattle game. his analytics to go for overtime instead of going for the win. And it hasn't showed up since because they've been winning and they haven't been put in that situation. But it's going to come up again when they play better teams. And those teams in the playoffs, San Francisco or Philadelphia, he's going to do the same thing because he had to learn from his analytics.
Well, he did. But, Al, if you look at the game on Sunday against Tampa Bay, I think maybe you could say and argue that he learned from lessons in the past about when to go for it, when not to go for it. They had opportunities to go for it on 4th and short, and they chose either to try to kick the field goal or they just punted.
Let me ask you this. You have an interview with Mr. Campbell, do you not?
The morning show does.
The morning show does.
Oh, the morning show, okay. Well, pass it on to them. Ask him if the situation comes up again and you're in the same situation with 3 timeouts, you're at the 50-yard line with less than 2 minutes to go, would you do the same thing again?
I think he said right away afterwards that he might. Did he say he'd do it differently, Doug?
He said it depended, if I recall correctly. I mean, we track what we call Campbell's Gambles. And so far this year, there's been 2 games, the Atlanta game and this game, where he hasn't taken any questionable gambles. Right? There was nothing from this past week.
Nothing from this past one.
In the Atlanta game, he didn't do anything. Since the Seattle game, he's only had 2 situations that we've deemed Campbell's gambles. One was in the Green Bay game and one was in the Carolina game. The Green Bay, he had 4th and goal from the 1 with the Lions up 27-17 with 6:03 and the clock running. And he didn't kick the field goal. He went for it and they scored the touchdown. And that might have been an easy one, but Carolina, they were in field goal range and Campbell on 4th and 2 went with a toss sweep and got a first down. So since the Seattle game, there's been 4 games played, and there's been 2 gambles that have both paid off for him. And you know, he's going to have tough decisions to make moving forward, and they aren't going to win them all. The other coaches have done more. The other coaches have been in bigger games. Because we're saying, are they the best team in the NFC? Dan Campbell's responsible in large part for getting the Lions to where they are, without question. But Sirianni and Shanahan have done it in bigger games.
Yeah, and they've also made questionable calls. We'll go to the end of the Eagles game. Eagles have the ball 3rd and 9 at the Philadelphia 46-yard line, under 2 minutes to go. The Jets have used up all of their timeouts, and they call a passing play. Mm-hmm. It gets intercepted, not even incomplete. It gets intercepted, and it costs them the game. Had they run the football, or had Jalen Hurts looked at that play and said, oh, my God, I can't throw here. There's 2 guys there. I better take off and run, or simply take the sack. Let 40 seconds tick off the clock, or 35 seconds tick off the clock. They might still be in a winning situation. So do you call that gamble out, or are you just going to give Sirianni a pass? I mean, each coach will make their calls, and they're going to get scrutinized by their own fan base. Every coach goes through it. I think it's interesting that Dan Campbell has done it less as the season has gone on.
Yeah, the first couple of weeks, he took a lot more gambles than he's taken in recent weeks. 248-539-9797. It's Carson Anderson, open lines, 97.1 The Ticket. seasons are very long and things change throughout the course of the season. If the Lions go to Baltimore and win, it's hard to envision where and if it could go south. Like you're setting yourself up.
Stop. We know there's one.
There's one thing. Yeah, there's one thing. But they are really setting themselves up to have a chance at that number 1 seed that he talked about. A win over Baltimore will go a long way toward helping about that. But even if they lose to Baltimore, the Lions' schedule compared to San Francisco and Philadelphia's is on paper significantly easier. They still have the 5 division games. They still have Denver on the schedule. I mean, they still have some teams that don't look very good, that really could nothing's a punch button win, right? But those are 6 games the Lions have the luxury of playing that Philly and San Francisco don't have.
This is true. I mean, the Bears, and we'll see what happens with Justin Fields if he's hurt for the long term or if he was just out for the rest of that game yesterday. But if he's out long term, that torpedoes what they're trying to build. Takes a big old detour.
Don Carr, Scott Anderson, 97.1 The Ticket, 248-539-9797. Great to be with you on a Tuesday in Detroit. Let's get back to your phone calls. We go to Martin. You're next on 97.1 The Ticket. Hi, Martin.
Hey, what's happening, Bud? How you doing? How you doing, Gary?
Doing well, thank you.
Okay. Hey, man, I was thinking about the couple of phone calls before me when they said they think we're number 3, and I even thought the same thing. So maybe we're not as good as San Francisco and Philadelphia. But when you look at the metric, who had the better loss? Because I believe Seattle, man, is going to end up beating San Francisco. I think we had the better loss, but not only that, I think Detroit had the better win. We might be that good, Doug.
We might be.
Does it make sense? Does it make sense?
Yeah, it does.
I don't know if I'm sounding stupid or not.
No, you don't.
I like what you say.
Somebody asked us that question yesterday, Martin, and it's an astute observation. Who has the best loss? Well, if you say Detroit, because San Francisco lost to Cleveland and Philly lost to the Jets and Detroit lost to Seattle, so that's the best team. But then somebody called afterwards and said, actually, Detroit's loss is the worst because it hurts them more than the other teams because it hurts them in the NFC tiebreaker chase to have lost an NFC game. That's to imply that tiebreakers might not matter in the end. That tiebreaker might not be an issue, but San Francisco and Philadelphia have endured losses to AFC teams.
Okay, but I'll make it quick before you hang up on. But don't you think Seattle is a better team than Cleveland and New York?
Without question.
Thank you. That's all I was saying. Thanks for taking my call.
No, appreciate it. 248-539-9797.
And this question on who's got the best win. Lions beat Kansas City. That's the best win.
Unnamed texter, with the Lions having a sizable division lead, I feel that it would be okay to err on the side of caution with most of the injuries. Winning the division is the most important thing at this point. I mean, you can make that case, and it's probably too early to be focused on things like the number 1 seed. We don't know what to do with our hands, right? We're not used to this. We feel like we're on a rocket ship. Like, we don't know what we're doing. So this guy is, whoever sent this text, they didn't sign it, is acting like a responsible adult. Hey, don't push it with the injuries. You don't need to take chances. It's too early in this race to do that. But the Lions have a little bit of room to work with in this division right now. So if that means sitting Jahmyr Gibbs and Brian Branch one more game, I know.
Yeah, I hear you. And I mean, the bye week is big coming up, but it still looms large because it's a couple weeks away. It happens, you play that Monday night game. The trade deadline is right before it.
Yep.
Hours before it. There's There's a lot that can happen here in the next couple weeks.
It's right before it, or is it the next day? I think it's the next day.
Is it?
I think it's Tuesday the 31st.
Okay, Tuesday's the 31st then. Okay.
I might be wrong on that, but let me just do
the Lions game is on the 30th, and I think it is Tuesday the 31st. Sorry. So the trade deadline's the day after.
Okay.
So a lot's going to happen here in the next 10 days.
More feedback. I think Mo Ibrahim has a chance to play here soon. He has a grinder style like Montgomery. If Gibbs is out this week, do not be surprised if he's active. That's from Mark in Huron Township.
Well, I don't know how healthy he is, what kind of shape he's in, because he wasn't on the practice squad. They just signed him to the practice squad. So how long does it take to get into game shape?
Well, I suspect that he came in and worked out for them and proved that he could be ready to go quickly, because you don't want to sign somebody that needs weeks to get ramped up, given the fact that they may need him this Sunday.
Exactly. And, the rumors out there that Leonard Fournette was going to work out with the Bills, and apparently he did not work out with the Bills. But if you're looking at the free agent type running backs, Fournette would seem to be the number one guy out there. But to our knowledge, we don't know if the Lions have reached out to him, but they have added Ibrahim to the practice squad. So I think with the Lions, if they're going through it with the mindset of, we can bring somebody to our team that has knowledge of being with our team, knowledge of the playbook, and they've got a few guys they could have chose, and they went with Ibrahim over Snell and over Jamar Jefferson.
James in Fenton makes a great point, tweets us or texts us. Doug and Scott, remember, all running backs in the preseason were not running behind the starting offensive line.
Absolutely.
They barely played. 248-539-9797. Back to open line calls. Rodney, you're next. What's up, Rodney?
What's up, fellas? How y'all doing?
We're doing
well,
great.
Rodney.
Good. I'm going to make my point, then I got an interesting question for y'all. But I think that Detroit Lions is the best team in the NFC. And the reason why I say that is because I think Jared Goff is the best quarterback in the NFC, bar none, as a matter of fact. He's the most consistent. He has the most experience. I don't know why it seems like when people talk about Jared Goff, it just sounds like there's still skepticism. It's like people don't realize this man has just turned 29. He's been to a Super Bowl. He has that experience. He's not nervous. So I think this is why Detroit is not only set up, they have the better team, period, in the NFC. You can go division through division other than Jalen Hurts. Who would you consider that's really better than Jared Goff?
Well, and if you just look at quarterback rating, Jared Goff's a third-rated quarterback in the NFL. Jalen Hurts is number 20.
Well, I guess that just proves my point.
Yeah, I mean, Jalen Hurts has thrown 7 touchdowns and 7 interceptions. Jared Goff has 11 touchdowns and 3 picks. I mean, he's been outstanding this year.
Yeah, and this is why I think Detroit is more than just set up for this year. I think they are the better team. But I want to ask y'all the question, if y'all don't mind, for y'all let me go.
Go for it.
Here it is right here. Hypothetical, say Lions win. They extend Jared Goff 5 years, whatever that money is. We have the backup quarterback.
Hendon Hooker?
Not Hendon Hooker. Bridgewater. Okay. So, say the Lions win. Hypothetically, say the Lions win the Super Bowl. Get the 30-second pick coming up in the draft, because I heard Gator bring up yesterday about a mock draft. So check this out. Would y'all guys be interested if teams start calling for Hendon Hooker? They're willing to give up first-round picks for Hendon Hooker. I'm interested because do y'all think